Right now on the National Weather Desk, after a snowy weekend in the Midwest and Plains, New York gears up for heavy lake effect snow.
These areas definitely going to be inundated with a lot of that heavy snow.
This morning's Beaver Moon could help spell trouble for the Pacific Northwest's king tide.
The higher than normal tides are expected to reach around 10 feet along the Washington coast.
Understanding the science behind the beautiful colors of many sunrises and sunsets.
The visible spectrum is made up of all colors of the rainbow, and each color has a different wavelength.
It is the plant of the season. We'll take you to a farm that grows poinsettias. And how are microplastics ending up in our clouds?
Did this surprise you?
No, not at all.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The long holiday weekend is over, and for many people, the big story now is the snow. Check out whiteout conditions in Chiquillo, Minnesota yesterday afternoon. That's in western Minnesota near the South Dakota border. The snow was falling so fast you couldn't see the ground. Look at that. And in Iowa, the snow caused a headache for drivers on state highways. There were several crashes blamed on the snow. Anywhere from 1 to 4 inches fell across the state. Snow also piled up in Nebraska with up to 4 inches falling over the weekend. By yesterday, the sun was melting what was left on some of those main roads, but side streets and grassy surfaces remained snow covered. Today's snow story is in New York and also Pennsylvania, where lake effect snow could be measured in feet. Meteorologist Eileen Weiland is here with that part of the story.
Well, it's still autumn, but feeling very much like winter. In fact, take a look through the Great Lakes today. We've got lake effect snow warnings in effect. We've also have winter weather advisories. We have an upper level low that's spinning off of relatively mild lake waters. And then we've got just these bands of snow that are really going to be piling up. In fact, take a look through Wednesday, how much snow we could see. In fact, getting close to a foot of snow in spots like Syracuse. So these areas definitely going to be inundated with a lot of that heavy snow. Fortunately, we'll start to see a little bit of a milder pattern coming our way by the end of the week.
Well, the strongest earthquake in 48 hours was detected in Iceland this morning, stoking fears an eruption can happen really at any time. It's been 2 weeks since a town near the potential eruption site was evacuated. Since then, seismic activity has decreased, but the threat is still very real. Even if the volcano does not erupt, it will be months before residents will be allowed to return due to infrastructure damage. And if you were up early this morning, you may have caught the full moon, also known as the Beaver Moon. The name corresponds to the time of year beavers head to their lodges and also when they are trapped for their fur. The Beaver Moon is beautiful, but it comes with risks for people living in the Pacific Northwest. The full moon contributes to king tides, which are extremely high tides that typically happen during early winter. Right now, they are forecast for the Seattle area. Through Thursday, Karina Vargas looks at what people are doing to get ready.
Sandbags have been placed in the front and the back of homes and businesses in South Park, as well as barricades along the Duwamish River.
I went and looked out the kitchen window and just saw a wave of water coming in.
This is what the streets looked like last year when king tides hit in late December, which resulted in widespread evacuations. Joe Reese's home had extensive damage, and she's hoping this won't happen again.
We had standing water all day in our yard, 12 hours at least. In our basement, we had probably 1.5 feet of water.
The higher than normal tides are expected to reach around 10 feet along the Washington coast. Here in South Park, people are still worried about the Duwamish River toppling over.
We're going to go get a bunch of sandbags ourselves. And yeah, we'll be full effort, mobilization, all hands on deck.
These preparations come as Seattle Public Utilities and King County added new pump stations and stormwater drainage pipes. Officials said it's meant to prevent sewer backups during king tide season, but the new pump will also operate during high tides and heavy rain to reduce flooding.
And we talked earlier about lake effect snow and how does it form? That's a big question. To find out, let's turn to meteorologist Violet Skyborg.
It's getting to that time of year where we have to deal with lake effect snow here in the Great Lakes region. And the best time for it is early winter, when the Great Lakes are still warm, but the land is much colder because water retains heat and land doesn't. So the land will cool down faster. And we also have colder air temperatures, which is what we need for lake effect. We need this colder air rushing in along the longest part of the lake, and it picks up moisture and warmth from the lake, condensing into clouds and snow. And it forms these narrow bands that move inland and drop usually a decent amount of snowfall just offshore of areas near the Great Lakes. And these narrow bands of snow can produce quite a bit of snowfall. Sometimes we see snowfall rates of up to 2 to 3 inches per hour, and sometimes even more, depending on how much moisture we get from the lakes and how steady the wind is. When we have a steady wind, keeping those narrow bands over the same neighborhoods, they can pile up with a few feet of snow in a short amount of time. And the other thing to note too is because these bands are so narrow, you can have neighborhoods that look like this and others that get no snow right nearby. So that's what makes lake effect snow bands so dangerous, and you want to make sure that you drive carefully through them because you could go from no snow to that snowy neighborhood. So make sure you drive safe this winter.
And one of the world's largest icebergs is drifting beyond Antarctic waters after being grounded for more than 3 decades. The iceberg is about 3 times the size of New York City. It became stuck to the ocean floor in 1986 and has been there ever since. The British Antarctic Survey now says the iceberg has been drifting for the past year and appears to be picking up speed. And you can often spot vibrant sunrises and sunsets during clear mornings and also nights. Meteorologist Mitchell Combs is here to shed light on the science behind colorful sunrises and sunsets.
The sun emits electromagnetic energy at a wide range of frequencies. Only a small portion of that energy can be seen by the human eye. The visible spectrum is made up of all colors of the rainbow, and each color has a different wavelength. Colors like violet and blue have shorter wavelengths and are more likely to be scattered in all directions by the gases that make up Earth's atmosphere. This explains quite simply why the sky is blue. The sky's blue hue occurs during the middle of the day when light travels a shorter distance through the atmosphere. On the other hand, light has to travel a much farther distance through the atmosphere before it reaches our eyes at both sunrise and sunset. That longer path typically causes the blue color to disappear, but colors with longer wavelengths, such as reds, oranges, and yellows, stick around. Weather features such as clouds, wildfire smoke, and dust in the air can increase the number of particles available in the atmosphere. This increases the light scattering and produces more vivid sunrises and sunsets. Now on to a little weather folklore. Have you ever heard the phrase, red in the morning, sailor's warning, red at night, sailor's delight? If you haven't, it's an old mariner's phrase, but does it hold any merit in weather forecasting? To uncover the truth, we must understand the general motion of storm systems in our part of the world, which often occurs from west to east. When we see a red sky in the evening, this means the setting sun is sending light through a high concentration of dust particles. This usually indicates high pressure, stable air, and good weather to the west as a storm system moves out of our area to the east. A red sunrise can mean the complete opposite is possible and that a storm system is not far away. A morning sky that is deep, fiery red can also indicate a high water content in our atmosphere, meaning rain or snow is soon to arrive. While this doesn't occur 100% of the time, if we put these observations together, we can conclude this little piece of weather folklore is mostly true.
Wildlife experts are trying to convince hunters to stop using lead ammunition. Officials with the Raptor Education Group in Wisconsin say lead can kill birds. And this deer season, they have already treated 2 eagles for lead poisoning. Weather here is also a factor. El Nino could mean less snow in the area when hunters gut their deers in the woods. The snow usually covers that up, but without snow, scavengers like eagles can end up eating lead ammo. The center suggests hunters use copper ammo instead. NASA might soon be able to probe deeper into space and find out more about the origin of the universe thanks to new laser communications technology. The laser is embedded on the Psyche spacecraft and it just sent back its first data from beyond the moon. Right now, the spacecraft is traveling to catch the first glimpse of a metal asteroid. If the laser technology is successful, it could be used to communicate with humans exploring Mars. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, it's officially Christmas tree season. We'll head to northern Michigan to find out what it takes to grow the perfect tree and tips to stay safe if you plan to use portable heaters this winter season.
An area of low pressure is going to move on off to the north as we head through the daytime today. Notice the sunshine returns for much of the daytime today. We're looking at temperatures running in the 40s and low 50s for areas right along the coastline. A little cooler as you head off towards the north and west. And then notice some snow showers will move in through the overnight hours. And yes, lake effect snow is likely as well. High temperatures today will top out in the 40s and 50s for much of the area.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Some colder air beginning to flood in as we head into our early week. Some near seasonable temperatures with 40s to right around 50 degrees for our Monday, but turning a lot colder you see here as some deep freeze begins to head our way into early on Tuesday. It's breezy with sunshine returning in the wake of our latest weather maker, a cold front pushing off the coast, and that will lead to colder weather by Tuesday. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Looks like we'll see a cool one in Nashville at 45 degrees, 55 in Raleigh, 49 in Atlanta, about 50 degrees in Birmingham, Jacksonville, 64 degrees, 70 in Tampa, 82 in West Palm. So it looks like we see that system that brought a lot of rain over the southeast has pushed on off to the east. We have plenty of sunshine, but clear skies, cool temperatures moving in behind that front. Looks like sunny conditions down in parts of Florida. A few clouds start to work their way in across south portions of the area overnight.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
As the temperature drops, people plug in space heaters to keep warm, but there are dangers that come with that. Paige Taylor has more on what happened at one home this weekend.
Recently, with the current gas crisis going on, we do have a heightened awareness of space heater usage. So many folks are currently right now using supplemental heat sources, and most commonly electric space heaters. So we just encourage everyone always err on the side of caution when using these.
Hodges says one of the biggest mistakes the Charleston Fire Department has seen is people plugging space heaters into extension cords.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to use surge protectors. You need to connect them directly to your wall outlet.
According to the Office of the Fire Marshal in West Virginia, structure fires accounted for the largest number of fire types from 2019 to 2021. Across the United States, the National Fire Protection Association reports from 2016 to 2020, space heaters were responsible for the largest number of homes lost to heating equipment.
Globally, the fire service sees more home fires in the colder months because there's just many factors, whether they're using supplemental heat sources, they may be using their fireplaces, they may just be home cooking more, so cooking fires.
Hodges says the best way to stay safe is to keep the space heater at a 3-foot distance from anything else and to plug it directly into the wall.
Well, for 50 years, one company in North Carolina has helped plant the seed for holiday cheer at many homes and businesses. The floors of their greenhouses are covered with colorful poinsettias that are popular during the Christmas season. Taylor Thompson spoke with the family about the busy season ahead.
We flood these floors, and that way the water's taken up from the bottom of the pot, and we don't have the water from the top.
Mills Rivers, where the Van Wingerden greenhouse is called home since 1973.
So it floods the floors and it goes back out the same area, or the same holes it came in.
Erica Merrill and Mitchell Cantrell are the third generation of their family to help run this greenhouse.
It went from my grandparents to now my dad owns it, and then now me and my brother are in it.
It all started when their grandfather immigrated to the States from the Netherlands.
Started many greenhouse locations across the United States and landed here.
The greenhouse grows and provides one of the most loved flowers, known to many as the Christmas flower, the poinsettia.
You start these in July, so, Christmas pretty much starts in July. And then as they get redder and redder, it's fun to come down here, and it kind of prepares you the whole time for the season. Everyone can tell that Christmas is earlier and earlier every year, so we have shipped much earlier this year than we ever have.
A business that continues to grow as they distribute their poinsettias locally all the way to Kansas City, Missouri.
So in the last 50 years that we've been here, it has grown from around 3 acres to about 40 acres inside and outside growing.
With half of the year revolving around poinsettias.
Stick them in July, root them out. They grow for 5 weeks, and we pinch them, and then we space them, and then we just wait.
Well, right now it's a greenhouse full of color. It will be a room of concrete in just a few short weeks, but Mitchell says that won't last for long.
After poinsettias, we'll start with our spring crops to do spring annuals. That is our busiest time, actually. And then after that, we'll do garden mums and some other indoor floral plants, and then back into poinsettias.
Not only do we say go blue in Michigan, but we also say go green. Michigan ranks third in the number of Christmas trees harvested in the nation. About 2 million end up in homes across the country. Meteorologist Heather Bricka visited one Christmas tree farm in Michigan.
Rows and rows of Christmas trees cover the landscape in Manton at Dutchman Christmas Tree Farms.
So we'll ship about 500,000 Christmas trees this week alone.
Hundreds of these trees are going out to Boy Scout troops.
Now we're loading a truck. It's going to a Boy Scout group in Mission, Kansas. And so Jacinto and his crew are loading this truck. So we serve a lot of Boy Scout troops, a lot of service groups, a lot of independent box stores and independent garden centers.
On top of supplying big box stores, Dutchman provides the Detroit Lions with their Christmas tree.
We got a great employee, Marty Emery. He goes and he selects that tree every year, finds the tree. We got a field specifically just for that program. And so he selects it, gets the crew together, bales it, and then hand delivers it down to Ford Field every year. The one for the Detroit Lions was a 35-foot concolor, selected between Manton and Mesick.
Now, you won't be choosing a 35-foot tree for your home, but when you pick out your perfect tree, you should expect a slight increase in price from last year.
I've read different things, probably on the order of 5 to 10%, increase. I know some growers are pretty deliberate in trying not to raise their prices as much as they can.
The best way to enjoy your Christmas tree, whether you buy it before or after Thanksgiving, Craig suggests
the 3-part thing: fresh tree, fresh cut, fresh water. So making sure they find the freshest tree they can. Going to choose and cut place, supporting your local farmer is a great way to do that. If you do go to a lot, we talk about the pull test. I'm going like this. You pull along the branch with your thumb and forefinger, and if you get needles coming off, maybe look for another tree.
Craig also said once you get the tree, cut about an inch off the bottom before putting it in the tree stand.
Scientists in China have recently published a study showing microplastics in cloud samples. Emily Gracie sat down with an expert to find out what this means and the impact on the weather.
So this Chinese scientist published a research paper, and they looked and they collected cloud water in the summer of 2021. They collected 28 samples from June to August, and they found pieces of plastic that were in the cloud water. And they reported on it, and it's a really good study. It's not very good news, but it's a really good study.
Do you know how the plastic got in the clouds?
No, they collected them, but they did these kind of back trajectory where they look where the air mass was beforehand, and they were able to show that when they the air was moving from land, that's when they got more pieces of plastic than when sometimes it was coming from the ocean.
Did this surprise you?
No, not at all. I mean, plastics are everywhere. It's not surprising that some of them can be put up into the atmosphere and, float around, just like a lot of other things that humans have introduced, or even natural events, volcanoes, or, what comes out of the tailpipes of our car. So no, I'm not surprised. And I'm not necessarily worried.
Can you explain how microplastics in clouds could impact weather?
The concerns about what they might be called cloud condensation nuclei. And they're all, just think of them as that when we put, when there's aerosols, or small little particles in the atmosphere, they have the opportunity for water to condense on them, and then, so now you're adding water onto those little particles, and they may end up causing and making clouds. But, at this point, that's all it is. It is a, enough research for folks to say maybe we need to look at a little bit more about whether or not they will affect how clouds form, or also how ice grows on pieces of particles. But this Chinese paper really only concerned themselves about the potential from whether or not they would seed and make clouds, which then may affect the rainfall cycle.
And time now for a short break, but first we take flight over California's Weaver Lake.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Most of the Midwest is pretty quiet. There will be some lake effect snow across the Great Lakes today, but it's going to be cold for most of us with a lot of temperatures in the 30s and 20s. Now, as we continue into the day tomorrow, we're starting to get a little bit of sunshine to come out, but still some lake effect snow across the Great Lakes. By the time that we get to Wednesday, lighter winds and temperatures slowly warming up for all of us. Look at all the sunshine across the plains on Wednesday.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region as we head back after the holiday weekend. Well, we're going to start off on the cold side across Oklahoma. A little bit of snow this weekend in northern portions of the state, starting off in the 20s this morning, 30s and 40s elsewhere. And it is going to be a cool day, upper 40s, plenty of sunshine from Amarillo to Oklahoma City, even towards Little Rock. More clouds across Texas and Louisiana. Cool day, temperatures only in the 50s. Another cold night ahead as we head into your Tuesday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We've got so much cooler air coming down along the Rockies. We're seeing temperatures stay just below normal, with highs in parts of Utah only in the upper 30s. Now, as we go into the weather setup, our weather maker is high pressure, keeping much of the West dry, and we're awaiting the next weather system to bring in some rain into California on Tuesday. That's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
This weekend, you may have gotten hit by snow and cold. Winter weather is knocking on the door. So let's take a look at a recent Twitter post from Theron Zahn about winter fun facts you may not know.
How about 3 fun facts about winter? Did you know the Earth is actually closest to the sun in December, even though the days are the shortest in the northern hemisphere? The amount of daylight we get is because of the tilt of the Earth's axis, not the distance to the sun. And ancient Romans actually used the amount of daylight in a day to divide up the hours of the day. During the winter, hours were as short as 45 minutes long. In the summer, they were as long as 75 minutes. And according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the largest snowflake ever recorded fell on a ranch in Fort Keogh, Montana in January of 1887. It measured 15 inches across. A lot of interesting stuff happens during the winter.
And for more content like this, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at why officials in Michigan are asking for help tracking the local bear population. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Monday. And we're going to see you right back here tomorrow.